Hi there, and welcome back to the emotional regulation class. I'm your host, Tom, and today we're going to be continuing with mindfulness, but we're going to be talking about observing. So what that is we want to try and actually look at things as they're actually happening, rather than our interpretation of that, or trying to fill in the blanks. And this one is kind of an interesting one because we don't actually realize how much we actually do that until we actually are conscious of what we're doing and why we're doing it. So some basic ways that we can do some observing is people watching is a great way to do that. And that can be at a coffee shop or at a local mall, at the grocery store, it can be in the park. And so what you can do is just spend even just 2 or 3 minutes of just sitting there and observing what's actually going on around you. And so that can be what you're seeing, what you're smelling, what you're physically feeling in the area. And a coffee shop is a great way to do it because there's a lot that's kind of happening there. And we want to try and fill in those blanks. And so this is a good way. So if you saw a couple that was there, like, oh, is that their first date? And I want you to try and refrain from trying to interpret what the story is and just observe what's actually happening. Now, in this day and age, you got to be careful about how long you're actually observing if you are people watching, because some people get a little nervous about that. So just be mindful that some people might might start to kind of look over at you and like, what are you doing? So just be mindful that if you're in a public space that you know to maybe limit your time on the people watching, but it is a good experiment in observing so that you can get used to just observing of what things are. Another technique that you can do is laying down the grass in a park and watching the clouds go by. This is a very basic one where it's nice to relax. It's now summer here, so being outside is feels great. Being in the park feels great. It's warm out, and so you can feel those sensations of the warmth on your skin, and looking at the clouds. And one of the games, like usually is when we grow up when we're kids, we try to interpret like, well, what does that cloud look like? And this time I want you to try not to interpret what the cloud looks like, but just observing the cloud and the change in shapes and the change in the speed of what it might be going by, or is it just stationary? What are the smells around you? What are the sensations that you're feeling while you're there? And to try and stay in that moment without thinking of other things, or again, trying to interpret that situation. Um, the next one would be to kind of close your eyes and listen to the sounds around you. So this can be done almost everywhere, except if you're driving a car. So what you want to do is you want to just close your eyes and listen for any voices. Is there background noise? Is there crickets chirping behind you, or do you hear kids talking, or do you have an ambulance that, you hear the ambulance sirens in the background? Again, not just observing, paying attention to what that is, um, and then just doing it and just being there. Another technique that you can use is to observe as if your thoughts, pardon me, observe your thoughts as if you're watching a TV show. Um, and this can be even just observing your physical scenario as if you're just not there, like that you're watching a TV movie and that you're just looking at something. And even your thoughts, though, if you have a hard time, like, well, you just can't shut off my mind, and so just almost remove yourself from that. And okay, so my brain's thinking about this, and not interpret why that might be. Just allow your brain to kind of just process, and that you're just going to observe that. The next one would be so these would be some other strategies that you can use daily, that you can try to do that with. And so one of them would be mindful showering. So while you're in the shower, like, what is the heat of the water feel like when the water hits your body? Are there certain channels that the water flows down on your body? When you lather up, like, what does the lather feel like? What does it smell like? Are there other sounds that you're hearing other than the water coming from the shower head? If you're mindful walking, like, what does the texture feel beneath your feet? Does it feel warm? Does it feel cold? Is it gravel? Is it grass? Is it, uh, a breezy day? Like, what does that feel like? Is it warm or is it cold? Uh, are there smells that you're smelling? Are there people that are walking by? How many dogs do you see from when walking from point A to point B? Mindful driving can also be a good one. Most people don't know how they get to work. If you think about like how many times did I have to stop, or which roads did I take in order to get there? Um, a lot of people don't remember because they're too busy talking or thinking about what they need to do when they get there. And so if you find that, so if you're watching this, like, how did I get to work today? That's a good sign that you're not being mindful while you're driving, and that this might be a good exercise for you. So one of the things that you can do is almost like practice as if you were a brand new driver. If you remember back to that, everything was kind of nervous because you didn't know, you just learned how to drive a car. You were trying to figure that out and not hit anybody and not hit cars and make sure that you're not, you're watching out for pedestrians. And so now you probably won't have the anxiety that comes with that, which is good. Because when I think back to that, I was very anxiety provoking when I was first learning because everything was new and you were trying to take in everything. But without the anxiety of it and trying to see like how many people are walking by, like what's the color of the car ahead of you? How many lights did you have to stop at on the way to work? Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it rainy? And going through those sensations. And even if you're only doing it for like 2 minutes in that day, then that's okay. So it can literally be for a couple seconds to several minutes. Anything past a couple minutes, and you may find that it's going to be a bit of a challenge. So one of the challenges that I might put to you is to time yourself. How long can you go being mindful, doing one of these things before your mind starts to drift, or that you start to make an interpretation or a judgment? So one of the things that you can do in the next 7 days is time yourself. How long can you go until you are no longer in the moment? Um, and most people will make can make a couple minutes, and after that it gets a bit more challenging. So I'm going to throw that challenge out to you to see how long you can go before you actually think of something else. And as far as the observing, it's the same thing. So how long can you stay in that moment and to truly be part of that experience? And so, because most people, when they find that when they're being mindful, they're more content, right? Their mind's less busy, they are more relaxed, they're more in tune with what's kind of going on around them, and just overall more content. So, and that's really the goal of this, is to try and get you in the moment so that you're thinking less and less about all those things that are stressing you out. Not that you don't want to think of those things, but there's times and places to kind of think about those in the context of how am I going to solve that problem. So for today, the strategy will be is how do I stay in the moment, and how long can I stay in that moment? And so there's your assignment. Over the next 7 days, try to see how long you can stay in the moment using these techniques. So that's it for today, and so we will see you next time. Until then, take care.